So let me ask you, when did you stop sprinting and stop training CV hard, really hard? Be honest, most men over 35 don't hit their maximum heart rate ever again. Think about that. You lift, you walk, stay busy, but never redline, never get to that maximum point. And the moment you stop sprinting is the moment you start aging faster. The moment you stop training hard. If you don't use it, guess what? You lose it. And this episode is about the very special staff members within your body and why your edge feels flat without them. I want to explain exactly how this works. Welcome to Longevity Masters. I'm your host, Grant Hutchby, and this show exists to help midlife male entrepreneurs reverse their biological age and take control of the one asset that matters most: time. Your body needs to be treated with the same attention, structure, and planning as your business. The difference is simple. You can build many businesses, but you'll only ever get one body. And we're building the first biological time machine designed specifically for male entrepreneurs to turn back time and add more years to their life, but more importantly, more life to their years. The mission is simple: to claim back 10,000 years of optimal life. Today, we're diving into endorphins and how they affect your body, your business, and your ability to turn back time. Let's dive in. So, my relationship with endorphins and cardiovascular training is a funny one. I was qualified as a personal trainer and sports injury therapist over 20 years ago, and I've always loved the gym. I've always liked going to the gym. I've always liked strength training. So strength training is something that's been consistent over that period of time. But CV endurance training hasn't been. It might be because I'm a tall guy and not naturally built for running and CV training. However, you might be the absolute opposite. You might be someone that really enjoys CV but struggles with doing the strength side of it. Whichever one you are, it doesn't really matter. But what you need to acknowledge is that both are really important. Arguably, and the scientific data would suggest that endurance training has a slight more impact on overall longevity because it impacts your cardiovascular system and your heart. But both strength and cardiovascular fitness are right up there in terms of the two markers that, if you focus on properly, will increase your longevity. So like I said, I have always liked strength training. Endurance training has always been a funny one for me. However, what I've come to realize is when I start to slip from a health perspective, the first thing to go is always the exercises that I don't like doing. So mine would be running, step machine, rower, all of those really hard exercises, the CV side of things, they would always drop off first. And what then happens, or what happened to me in the past, is that then spirals into more stuff, more bad stuff. So I would start letting off from cardiovascular training, stopping my running, stopping my step machine, and then I would start eating worse. I would have less energy, so I would need to fuel that energy with more caffeine and more stimulants to keep going. Because the one thing that I noticed from endurance training is when I'm doing it on a regular basis and when I'm in a really good place, it actually enhances my energy. And that's where endorphins come in, because while you do get a rush of endorphins from strength training and that intensity as well, you get a much higher rush of endorphins from cardiovascular training. And it's because you're putting your heart rate to a much, much higher level than when you're strength training. And that goes back to my point at the beginning of the episode, where when was the last time that you really went hell for leather on CV? Not where you just jogged for 45 minutes, and that's still good. Doing CV training in what we call is zone 2 is, again, very, very good for your cardiovascular fitness, but you do need that high intense style of training that really pushes your heart rate to its 95% limit. Obviously, you're not going to push it to your 100% limit, because if you did that, then you could have a heart attack. But the point that I'm trying to make is that when I'm doing my high intense training, endurance training on a regular basis, my energy goes through the roof, my ability to manage my blood sugar gets better, and I just feel in a generally better place. So I've had many times over the last 20 years where I've slipped, where I've dipped out. Obviously, my strength training has always stayed consistent, and my thing was, if I'm generally eating healthy and I'm still going to the gym and lifting weights, I'm probably in a good place. However, there's a knock-on effect that I found, with me at least, a knock-on effect from doing really good regular cardiovascular endurance training. And that regularity, yes, promoted that extra energy, promoted that rush of endorphins, promoted that better mood. However, the knock-on effect into the other areas of your life is where the biggest difference was made. So by me having that regular training, what I noticed was that I was eating better, I was drinking more fluids, I wasn't drinking as much alcohol, I didn't need as much caffeine. And that knock-on effect, not only are you doing the cardiovascular training, which has a massive impact on your body, on your VO2 max, and the VO2 max is, again, one of the highest, if not the highest predictor of longevity and how long you're going to live. Yes, there's loads of other things that we need to focus on. However, if you were only to focus on 3 metrics, it would be your sleep and how well you're sleeping, because if you don't sleep well, nothing else goes well. Your VO2 max, which is your ability to process oxygen within the body, which means that you can do more shit, basically. And then strength. And I look at strength like your body armor. So it's the thing that protects you, gives you your balance, gives you your ability to pick things up, gives you your ability to do lots of different things within your life. So if you're only to focus on 3, this particular episode focuses on the VO2 max side of things. The 3 core metrics to focus on: sleep, VO2 max, and strength. So I can't highlight enough how important endurance training and intense sprinting is to your longevity. So I've got written down some myths about endorphins that I wanted to clear up for people, just in case you had a wrong perception of what endorphins are and what they do. So myth number 1 is cardio kills muscle gains. That is wrong. Okay. Yes, when you get to a very high level, it can stop certain growth in strength. However, it's more the programming that kills your muscle. So when you do the cardiovascular training, how you do the cardiovascular training. So as an example, if you were to do a really hard CV session before your strength session, that would absolutely kill the ability to get the most out of your strength session. However, if you did cardiovascular training one day, allow your system to reset and to get back to optimal levels, when you go to do your strength training the following day, you can hit the same level of strength performance that you would previously, and that won't hinder your muscle gains. Myth number two. So myth number two is that strength is enough. If I just go to the gym and lift weights and make sure I stay active, then that's all I need. However, your power, what it says here is your power without conditioning is incomplete. So essentially, endurance training and this high intensity training allows you to condition your body to be able to do more, hence the VO2 max. So having a higher VO2 max, let me ask you this question. Do you think a higher VO2 max will help your strength training or hinder your strength training? Obviously, it's going to help your strength training, and endurance training and high intensity CV training is what's going to improve your VO2 max. So myth number three is feeling flat is stress. Okay, that's true in a sense. However, in reality, it's probably your low endorphin management. So what do I mean by that? If you're not endurance training, your endorphins are not going to be at their peak and working properly. So it's going to make you feel flat. So feeling flat isn't stress. Feeling flat is your lack of endorphins, and your lack of endorphins comes from your lack of endurance training. Myth number four is that sprinting is dangerous after 35. Now, obviously, we've been through this already. Sprinting is 100% not bad after the age of 35. You're not going to have a heart attack. The point is to push yourself up to that 90-95% maximum heart rate limit. And again, if you don't use it, you lose it. And I've got a note here, and that it's estimated that the vast majority of over 30s rarely, if ever, sprint or reach maximum heart rate. That sedentary life is considered normal once you get over 30. And this whole goal of retirement, I don't believe in retirement. I believe that we go through stages in life and we have different things that we do at those stages, but the you don't use it or lose it phrase is relevant at every stage of your life. So if you don't want to lose something, your energy, your strength, your cognitive ability, your intelligence, you need to use it. It is as simple as that. So just remember that one phrase. If you don't use it, you lose it. So myth number five is endurance is for athletes. Well, obviously it's not. Some people think that running long distances or putting yourself through a lot of strain, maximum heart rate, pushing yourself to the limit. Obviously, if you do that too often, that's what we call overtraining. And you can not only overtrain your muscles, you can also overtrain your cardiovascular system or your entire nervous system. And then lots of bad things start to happen. However, if you're resting adequately, if you're recovering properly, if you're getting the right nutrition, and if you're sleeping well and giving yourself enough break between these bouts of high intense exercise, you will develop much better adaptation to life, and you'll have a much more extended life as well. So no, endurance training is not for athletes. It is for everyone. This show is for entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs understand stuff from a business perspective. So what I've written down here is how endorphins would work if they were in your business, if they were your staff members. Now, endorphins are your staff members in your social team. They're like your social media, and that's within the marketing department. And the marketing department is all about cleaning everything up, making everything look great so that it attracts the right things into your business. And endorphins are within the lead generation team, which is why they're social media. And the purpose of social media is to create this visibility within your body. It opens everything up, just like you're opening up your cardiovascular system. It gives you momentum. It gives your body engagement. It makes you look good. So like this, the reason why testosterone and endorphins are within the marketing department and the lead generation team is because they make your body look great, feel great, and provide the most attraction of other things. So this is why I believe that the marketing department and the lead generation team are perfect for essentially the two hormones we've just talked about, which this episode is endorphins and the previous episode was testosterone, is that lead generation. Without leads, your body fails. Your business fails. You need leads coming into your business for your body to be able to do what it needs to do, or for your business to be able to do what it needs to do. Just like the most important thing for your longevity and your body is strength and endurance. Because if you can do both of those, you will last a very long time. And no, it won't work as well if your diet isn't right, with all the other things that you need. If your sleep isn't right. However, get this right, and the leads will absolutely flow in, and it will make your body as good as you can possibly get it. So back to endorphins being socials. Without socials, engagement drops. The brand is slow. It doesn't get the reach that you want your business to get. And like I said, that analogy is perfect for endorphins, because endorphins are the things that allow you to keep going further. And the point I'm trying to make here is, if we look at it in this way, you will understand the importance of endorphins, because remember, without leads, you won't be able to have a properly well-functioning business. And without socials, you won't get enough leads. And that's the best way that I can feel that I can explain endorphins and how that all links in to be very, very similar to your business. So if strength builds structure, then endurance builds resilience. And if things feel heavy, it might not be the fact that you're not strong. It might be the fact that you're just not conditioned in the right way. And like, you know that there are very, very strong people out there. I mean, look at bodybuilders. They're extremely strong. Even strength training, so strong men. They're very, very strong. Extremely high muscular content in their body. But so a lot of them are very, very unfit. And actually on competition day, when they deplete all of their fat stores, they're actually very, very weak. And that's because their endurance capacity is extremely low. And what we want to do is we want to have a great balance between strength and endurance so that life feels easy. It's all about making sure that we use all of the mechanisms within our body to produce an amazing business, to produce a body that functions the way that it should. Just like if you get everything right in your business will function as it should. So remember, track your VO2 max, because VO2 max is youth. And if you want to get your body functioning the way that it should, move your VO2 max in the right direction. The only way you can do that is by endurance training. So I've written down here just three simple behaviors that you can do to start moving your VO2 max and your endurance capacity to another level. And it's all about progressive overload. It's about increasing it over time, just like you would with strength training and increasing the weight. So number one is you need to work up to 90 minutes of zone 2 exercise. This can be anything. It could be, for some of you, it might just be walking at a moderate pace. It could be walking on an incline. It could be a light jog. It could be cycling. It could be lots of different things. However, the key thing with zone 2, there will be a heart rate. So if you're monitoring your heart rate, it's usually around that sort of 120 to 140 range. However, if you're not measuring your heart rate, it's really easy to know if you're in zone 2. And zone 2 is where you can talk, but it's a little bit uncomfortable to talk. So if you're running or walking at a fast pace and it's like, yeah, I can talk, but actually it's just a little bit uncomfortable to do this, then you know you're in zone 2. So what you want to do is you want to be able to work up to 90 minutes. And however you do that over the week is up to you. You could do 3 30-minute sessions, 2 45-minute sessions. I probably wouldn't recommend anything much lower than 20 minutes. But yeah, if you can get up to 90 minutes of zone 2, and then the idea is just to keep increasing the pace and the intensity of what you're doing, or the not the intensity, but the speed of what you're doing, so that you stay within that heart rate, that zone 2 intensity, but you're increasing your workload. So number 2 is add in structured HIIT training. Now, HIIT training can come in so many different forms. Scientifically, and the things that I've seen and read, listened to, is that you can do very quick HIIT training, which is 1 minute on, 1 minute off, or even 30 seconds on, minute off. What you need to do if you're doing that is you need to go hell for leather. You need to be working at a really, really high rate to essentially get your heart rate up in that 30 seconds or a minute. And that can work. What I've found, and what some literature has said, is that, and feel free to look it up, is look up VO2 max training. And it's essentially a form of HIIT training that is 3 to 4 minutes on and then 3 to 4 minutes off. And what that does is you're not quite going hell for leather, but you are going very, very fast at your highest capacity for a slightly longer period of time than 30 seconds or a minute. And the reason why that's good is it's been proven to keep your heart rate elevated at that 90-95% mark for a lot longer. And that's what we're trying to do. For VO2 max, and zone 2 is very good for VO2 max, but this style of HIIT training is also extremely good. And if you're not doing both, you won't get the maximum out of your VO2 max. So obviously structured HIIT training can be done in lots of different ways. You can do it as a circuit, you can do it as on-off on the CV, but again, you've got to work out what works for you. But if you've got a smart device like a Whoop or a watch, then you can see what your heart rate is and you can work with it. Or get a trainer in your gym, or personal trainer outside of the gym, to help you with this HIIT training. And then number 3, this is something that I've done for a number of years now, is to have an annual challenge, an annual hike, long distance run, swim, marathon, triathlon, something like really, really long bike ride, something that is going to take you most of the day to do, and it's just monotonous. It's like bang, 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 over and over, and it's going to be really, really difficult for you to do. Like the last one that we did was the Yorkshire Three Peaks, and that it took us just under 12 hours to do, and that was hard, man. That was one of the hardest things I've done in quite a while, and If you set these annual challenges, what happens is you lead up to it and you're going to want to start training because you know it's going to be difficult, and it pushes you to start training at least a couple months before. However, what's happened for me over the last couple years is instead of starting the training a couple months or 3 months before, I'm just doing it all year now because I want to make that challenge that I'm doing annually easier. I want to make it easier because I know it's going to be really bloody difficult. So there you go. The 3 things that you want to do, if I'm going to put it very, very simply and quickly, is do some zone 2 training, at least 90 minutes a week. Get some HIIT training in at least once a week, and set yourself an annual challenge that is really, really hard, that is going to take you most of the day to do. And they're the 3 things that you could easily start from right now. Set the challenge in place, start the HIIT training, and get your zone 2 training in. So that's it. That's Endorphins. And if you want to download some stuff that is going to really help you with your longevity and reversing your biological age, feel free to download the toolkit. The link is in the show notes. It's bookresources.thecarnivoreentrepreneur.com. So feel free to click on that. It's all free of charge, so just feel free to download it. Also, if you know anyone that would benefit from this episode, please share it with them, and obviously like and subscribe so that you get all of the new stuff that comes out, because we're always adding more and more stuff and trying to add more and more value to help people reverse their biological age. So that's it. Conditioning is youth. And my mission, like I said, is simple. Just want to give people the tools so that they can reverse their age by at least 10 years off of their actual. And that's it. Hope to see you guys on the next episode. And remember, be young, be happy, and be free, people.